Today, the topic is human psychology, the basic human behavior, why people behave the way they behave. Why do they do these mistakes again and again, even when they're aware of the mistakes? Why people fall in same traps again and again? I have recently attended a seminar where some psychologists and doctors were discussing all the same factors, and I have noted down 10 questions that needed to be answered in the very basic form to understand our own behavior, that why we fall on the same pretense again and again when we already know the answer. Let's dive into that. Number one, are humans truly rational or just emotional creatures pretending to be logical? We all know the answer. The answer is that we are not rational. First, always we become emotional about any decision. Anything that we do in our life, it is answered by our emotions first. The logical thing comes after that. Mostly what we do is, as humans, we make a decision based on our emotions and then try to justify that based on the logic that can justify our emotions. So we justify our emotions with the logic, not make a decision with the logic. So emotions prevail always as human nature. That's the unfortunate reality. You can say whatever you feel like, that I'm the most logical person, I make the most rational decisions. The most rational person will be making the most emotional person because they're trying deliberately to submerge their emotions. Let's move to the next question. Do people actually want truth or only validation for what they really believe already? I think we want the comfort of validation, not the truth. We, a lot of the times, in fact, most of the times, what we do is we defy our truth. We know what is the truth. We defy that just because other people are giving validation for on some other point. So we try to avoid the truth because we love the validation from other people. We want them to say yes to us. Yes, here you're right. Here you are doing the perfect thing. We want a yes from other people. That's what we like. We love that part. And that is why we are willing to sacrifice the truth, not avoid the truth. We are willing to sacrifice the truth for that. We all do that. It's not only about you or me. Number three, why are humans attracted to toxic people despite knowing the damage? A very powerful question, but a very logical answer for the emotional question, because we love to have our emotions seen in a logical way. We think the emotions are powerful. We know that emotions are powerful, but we try to justify that, okay, this is love. The emotion is also love. And we try to validate that love with logic. Means we try to justify our love with logic. That, okay, now our emotions have prevailed. Now we should validate this love somehow because we want that love. So we will justify, even if we know that that's going to bring us pain, we'll do that. Next part. Are successful people disciplined or simply addicted to control? I think most of the successful people are inspired by fear of losing or not achieving something rather than inspiration. Because what happens when people are addicted to something or they have a passion for something, they are fearful that what happens if I don't achieve this target, if I don't achieve this part of life? What will happen to me? What will I do? What will people think of me? So the fear of inspiration inspires them more than anything else. The fear of inspiration inspires them more than the inspiration itself. So the fear is the force of doing anything, because when you see yourself in the mirror, you see that that part will be dangerous to face, because and that will be shameful also. And that fear of shame, the fear of losing and fear of rejection from others, that push you more towards your success. So it's not only inspiration, there are many other factors, and one of the factors is fear. Next part. Why do humans admire confidence even when it's fake? So, what happens? Our brain is a mechanical thing. It's like a computer. So, it is wired to react in a certain way. For example, if we burn our hand, we have to react in a certain way. If we touch something, we have to react in a certain way. If we feel cold, we react in a certain way. Similarly, when we see a confident person, even if it's a fake confidence, we react in a certain way because our brain is wired to do in a certain way. And that fake confidence gives a message to our brain. Okay, that person look confident. So let's act in a certain way with him. Let's give him certain respect because he's pretending even still they deserve that because that attire portrays a simple picture of confidence and that our brain cannot justify if it's real or not. Brain cannot do that. The definition when we can spot something it's fake or real, it's not the brain, it's our instincts. That is totally different game. So you have to understand that difference. The next part, do people help others out of kindness or hidden self-interest? I think this is hidden self-interest because I always believe in that we are not so kind. We are kind. I'm one of the kindest person known in my community, and they always say that people make fool of me or use me. That's one of the reason they love me also. So what happens? We love to help others. It's not because we are kind. It's because we want social justification. We want admiration from other people. Okay, they love that particular trait in me. People love the trait in me. So I have to help others. That is one of the most important point where we fall into a trap, where we think that, oh, he's a very kind person or I'm a very kind person. No, the social justification is overwhelmed over our own personality. So when we see people behave in a certain way, okay, they treat me in a different way when I help others. So we start behaving in a certain way. That's social validation. We are mean. You are mean. You are so mean. You don't know that. In fact, some of you know that, but you pretend that. I know. Even if I am the nicest person, I am nice because I am mean. Because I love the social admiration when people see me in a way that this is the personality that suits you. That is a validation. That's not me. That's the validation given by society and my surroundings. So you have to understand the difference. Next part. Why do humans fear being alone more than being misunderstood? I think it's it's human nature. When we were like in history, when there were like many centuries ago, people were alone. There were not many cultural socialization or anything. I think it's a survival instinct. Survival instinct that allows us to come into contact with people. We don't want to be alone. We don't want to be rejected because we think that is the key to our survival. The more people we have around us, the more people make or give us the sense of security. That is why we don't want to be alone. That is the reason we are in a fear of being alone or rejection in a way that people start misunderstanding us. Next part. Are most opinions genuinely independent or socially programmed? Obviously, socially programmed. Because even we are, if I have asked anyone, even myself in the beginning or beginning of this journey, when I started this journey of exploring everything in this humanly world, whatever I can explore, especially people, because people are the only rarest commodity. And I will do a separate lecture on that one or a separate session and a live session as well, the rarest commodity, human beings. Because we think whenever we ask someone that we have our independent beliefs, we are independent or we have independent thoughts. No, you are not. Your social strata has defined your thinking pattern from the very beginning, the time you are born. Your parents, your surroundings, your friends, your siblings, your teachers, your colleagues, they make your thinking. You don't. You think you do. You can think whatever you want. But even that thinking is shaped by someone else. We are what we are surrounded by. We are brought up by. That is the reason the community is the essence of you. or you are the essence of community as well. So it's a vice versa thing. You affect your community and the community affects you. So you cannot say, I am only myself. That's a false notion. That's a false thing that you are giving to yourself. Again, you can keep saying this to yourself, these things, but you will not make a sound judgment on that. You will be wrong always. You are not independent decision maker. You are never, and you never will be, even if you know this reality. Right now, I'm discussing with you. Even after knowing this reality, you can never be independently logical or decision maker. You can never. It's surroundings. Anything, even one certain ad that you will go past by the road and just see for 1 second, a certain ad, that will change the mindset. That will affect your current state of mind, your decision making capacity. Everything affects. Next part. Do humans want freedom or just comfortable dependence? We don't want freedom. Trust me, we always fight for freedom. There are organizations for freedom, and there are revolutions going on and resolutions being passed. Whatever we say, I believe that's a way of being dependent on a certain thing. When we are talking about freedom, we want a dependency on something. We don't want freedom, because total freedom is actually a huge responsibility, and that is against the nature of humans. We want to avoid responsibility. We never want to have the total responsibility on our shoulders. And that said, having that said, we can never have total freedom, because that will allow us, total freedom will allow us to take whole responsibility. And by default, we have been designed in a way where we have to avoid that responsibility. You cannot have total responsibility. You, as humans, we always delegate responsibilities to others, or we find excuses to blame others, that that particular responsibility was for that particular person. That is the reason we are not successful. So even for our success, we try to be dependent on others. Even for our freedom, we try to be dependent on others. Even for our freedom, we try to be dependent on certain notions, certain rules, certain ideas, ideals. We have to be dependent on something to be free properly. So pure freedom is nothing. That doesn't exist anywhere. Again, that we always say that that's kind of a utopia. We are living in a real world of humans, and that's totally different, way beyond the unrealistic thing. And being unrealistic is another reality. Being unrealistic is another reality. We cannot have that in this world. Thank you very much.